Hello, everybody. All right. Today I have a special guest, somebody that I actually went to grad school with. We shared a small closet office, probably 2 feet away from each other, maybe less, maybe 1 foot away from each other. And Nicole Perez. So Nicole is a mother. She is an athletic trainer, and she is a business owner. Hi, Nicole. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Thanks for the introduction. Side note, Jeremy, I have a little guy in the background. So if you hear coughing or mommy, ignore it. He's fine. He's good.
No, we love it. We love it. That's fine by me. I love kids, even if I'm with them through virtually right here.
Yeah.
Nah, no problem. So today's episode 6 is going to be mostly based around business and entrepreneurship related to athletic training. But first, tell us a little bit about where you're at right now, what you're doing, and then we can get into what the business you started, because the business you started
Yeah,
is not related to athletic training. So
correct. Yeah.
help us out with that. Let's.
Yeah, for sure. So where I'm at right now, I'm married. I have a 4-year-old son, 4.5, my bad, because he will be upset if he doesn't get that half. A 4-year-old son. I'm an athletic trainer, and my day job is teaching sports medicine at the high school level. So the CTE courses, that's where I'm at. We have a flower business called Dakota Flowers, and we're managing that. It's an LLC. I'm the owner and the only member. My husband's part of it, but he's I like to call him like the Department of Operations guy, because he does my labor, the heavy lifting, some of the building, and a lot of the cleanup.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's where we're at. Mom, wife, business owner, high school teacher, and living it. So that's where I'm at right now, Jeremy.
Nice, nice. Just so our viewers know, if you're an athlete trainer, you know, but CTE that she's teaching in the high school is related to concussion, correct?
No, it's not. So
Okay.
that's what I thought CTE was when I first like started. But CTE is essentially career training education.
Ah,
Let me double check this. Yeah, career. No, my bad. Career technical education. So it's like the ROP courses. Do you remember ROP when you were in high school?
I do
I don't know
not
if a lot
know.
of so some high schools offered it, some didn't, but it's pretty much like um, it's integrated into their schedule, and they're able to get a certification. So our certifications, like a physical therapy assistant aide or like a medical assistant, like a culinary, there's culinary, there's media, there's entrepreneurship, there's everything like early
Mm,
education. So there's a lot of certifications. Instead of going straight into college, we take them straight into a vocational setting. So like they're
wow.
going straight into work. Yeah. So that's what CTE is. But when I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, cool, like concussion stuff. I'm like, oh wait, no, this is like ROP. So yeah, I'm glad we clarified that. I'm glad we clarified
Yes,
that.
yes, yes, yes. Okay, perfect. So that's interesting that you do that, because you went out and did your own kind of thing, and now
Yeah.
you're sharing the knowledge with these kids. So today you're going to share it with us. So what I want you to do is talk to us about your flower business. Why did you start it? What made you want to start it? You know.
Okay. Yeah. So when I was pregnant I'm trying to do the timeline, the last semester of grad school. So it was rough. Everything was a little bit tricky, but when I had my son, it was right before, it was in November. So November 5th. I remember I started my maternity leave. I was at a high school covering covering sports, and uh, my OBGYN was like, you better go home because I don't want to deliver a baby on this field. And he was like, I'm like, okay, I'm going home. So sure enough, I go home, I go into labor that night.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I was like, dang it. But luckily I wasn't working the game. So I was just there to get a cinnamon roll, because I'm like, I need to get a cinnamon roll before, because I'm going to have to wait a full other year until I can get it. So I really went for the cinnamon roll. And then, that was like my start of my maternity leave. And when I was at home with my little guy, I'm an athletic trainer, I'm covering high school sports. There's no babysitters. I was like, how am I going to, like, who's going to watch my kid at 5 o'clock when daycare closes at 5:30? Like, it doesn't make sense. And we didn't have, we're originally from Southern California. So we didn't have family up there. We had like a close group of friends, but they also had their kids, and adding a newborn on top of that, we didn't want to be burdening anyone. So we were like, all right, let's figure it out. So luckily I was able to return back in January. So I went from November to January. My setting was super legit. I was like a perfect setting for a new mom. And I was just like having a hard time going back to work. I'm like, how am I going to go back to work? I can't bring a newborn into a high school setting. Like, you just can't, there's no way that you could do your job fully present on top of like watching a newborn. So luckily for us, my sister moved out there for a couple weeks, and she was like our live-in nanny, which was awesome. It was such a blessing. And then my husband and I, we had to sit down. We're like, okay, what's going to happen? Because we can't find a sitter, evening times. There's no way, like, especially in our setting. And I'm like, okay, am I going to complain about it and just kind of, throw like a pity party? I did for a couple of days. I'm not going to lie. I did. I took action, and I really wanted to make sure, okay, are we going to move? Because again, we're from Southern California, or are we going to go to, figure it out? So we ended up actually moving back home. I took a year off, which was so hard for me because I'm like, I need to work. I have a degree. I need to do this. But it was a blessing in disguise because it kind of transitioned us into and I was able to get a taste of like a non-traditional setting. So industry, the industrial setting, I was able to do independent contract work. And then once I was doing that, I was like, I cannot go back to a full-time job and like leave my kid at daycare. Right. So that's kind of how our business started. I remember when Zeke was 8 months, I met with Alicia Pennington. She's like a huge entrepreneur. Yeah. So she's the one who kind of started giving me those little tastes of, hey, this could be for you. But I remember just like the people who were around me and like the athletic trainers I had, and you weren't part of this. So the people that I had around me were just like, oh, that's going to be hard. Like, you're not, and I was like, oh, you're so yucky. Like, just such Debbie Downers. And they're like, oh, that's not for you. Like, this is a traditional setting. I'm just like, I just got,
I hate that. Like, cause that's going to be our next transition. I want you to finish this. Yeah.
But, so I remember I had reached out to her, and we had set up a meeting, and I was like, hey, can we meet? Because she was doing like the private one-on-one coaching. This was back in like 2017. And now she doesn't even offer one-on-one coaching, which is like, you could just see the transformation and the impact she's had on the industry. But long story short, there were some medical issues that happened with my son. I had to put everything on pause. And then I was, as like everything was in the clear, I was able to kind of pick up, and I reached out to her. And this was 2020, I believe. And I had asked her like, hey, do you offer private coaching? I'm ready. I know it's been a couple of years, and, just wanted to make sure everything was in the clear with my son. And she's like, no, we don't do it anymore. And I was like, no, how am I going to get this off the ground? So I was super discouraged. But the time through that, I was able to kind of really see, okay, do I want to be in the athletic training setting, the industry where, and I was doing independent contract work and stuff like that. And I was like, this is cool. Like, I went to school for this, but in the season of my life and transitioning as a mom, as a wife, it wasn't sustainable, and it didn't make sense in our little area. So, fast forward that little incubation period. And then when I finally got connected with Alicia, she had a giveaway. And I had asked her, hey, I'm going to enter this giveaway. And I won one of her introductory courses to see like if your business, I think it was like the benchmark vitality assessment or something like that. And that's why I was like, okay, my business idea is really like, this is where it's at. So I was able to really look at it and say, is this like a passion project, or is it going to be sustainable as a business? And then when I got that green light, I was thinking to myself, okay, let's run with this like retirement project that we had, which is our flower business. And, things happened with COVID, people passing away. And it really struck me like, why am I going to wait till I'm retired to have my fun job, right? I'm just going to work. And it's almost like you're running this rat race, and then you get to finally enjoy your time when you're retired. And I was like, that sounds so stupid. And then seeing, one of our close family members pass away, I'm like, what if like that could have been me? I would have never enjoyed my time, and I would have enjoyed my my passion project when I'm 60. Like, who knows if I'm even going to be alive, tomorrow, or let alone at 60, or even be capable of the physical demands that floristry is asking of me. So
Mm-hmm.
we just said, screw it, let's do it. So, after I took that course with Alicia, she started oh my gosh, I forgot the name. She's gonna hate me because I don't know the name. But the next group, it's like a cohort where you really dive into like your SWOT analysis and things like that, and that's where we're at right now in our entrepreneur life. So yeah, that took a big old
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted everybody to hear, the journey, because honestly, the part you described is sometimes the hardest part. Everybody has ideas. Everybody has ideas for a business, but do they act on it?
Yeah.
That part is, it's a leap of faith, right? So you did something that's very admirable, and, hopefully it encourages some people to start taking the next action steps they need to take, like you did.
For sure. And I think that's one of the things, like once you have the taste of it, you're like, here, taste it. You're like at Costco, try these samples. And then you have people who are like, that's not for me. But then they see this is where I hate and love Instagram. They see like the highlights, right? They're like, oh, they're seeing all these lows and they get excited about it and they want it. But it's like, oh, wait, hold up, homie. Like there's so much behind the scenes that you don't see. But I just want everyone to taste it, because it's like, so, you're in control of your finances. You are working for yourself. Obviously you have to collaborate with others, but you are truly like, you are creating your path, alongside with the Lord, but you're creating your path, and you're not, if you're complaining about something, I guess this is a good transition into.
Let's do it. You do it for me.
Let's go there.
All right.
So one of the things, and we had discussed this, is about by community. I wouldn't say community, because that's not community. I would say the people that were around me. Some of the people that were around me were like, oh, why, why are you going to do that? That's dumb. Like, just go work. Like you don't have to work for, and when I say work, I mean, like, you don't have to earn and look out and hustle for your money. And they're like, just go, you have a degree. Why'd you go to school? And I'm like, well, I went to school to get education, but I mean, knowledge is also accessible everywhere else. So, I was just like, I don't know. Yep. It got me to the point where I was like, I'm upset that people were complaining about like, oh, the pay's sucky. Let me just let you do this one. Let me just let you go on that route, because you have more. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the richest people in the world, we know all already, like the richest people in the world, like they dropped out, right? Like there's always stories of people dropping out of school. So there's certainly knowledge for things outside of school, right? More education to be gained. So, and, a lot of people would give the opinion that it's more important things to learn outside of school, right? But, that's another topic anyways. But sure. I know we said athletic trainers earlier, as far as your community, you said that you have support. And, it's not just athletic trainers, it's, any setting, any people, anywhere. So you just got to find your tribe, which I'm part of a book club. We read a book called Tribes by Seth Godin, recommend it for you. And we actually geared it more towards athletic training, but you just have to find your tribe of people that are there to support you and lift you up, because, or your partner, like your husband as well. It's very important because if you don't have a support system, I'd be pretty sour and upset too, right? That I have this great idea that would change the industry, but I have no support or traction to take the next step because everybody around me is like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, like wait 10 more years, you're almost retired. And, and you should have just done it now. But, they didn't have a support system like you have. So, there are work settings, there are tons of athlete trainers, plenty of athlete trainers that will be there to support your ideas and to move you along. You just got to find them. Right. But
definitely.
But the ones that don't definitely stick out in your head. And, if you're that type of person that can use as motivation, good for you. Right. So
definitely. And even just, I remember like when we were in grad school, there was, some people not so much like in our office, but like in that environment where we're like, hey, let's bring this idea. And it was shut down like with amongst teams and things like that. And I think that's another thing too, that I really wanted to make sure that the people that I was working for, I was able to foster an environment of support, of community, like innovative thinking. Hey, I have an idea. Cool. Let's bring it to the table. Let's see what it looks like. Can we implement it? What is it going to look like to implement? But yeah, if you don't have a community, it's not going to be, it's like you're trying to like start, a garden in the desert. The environment is not meant to that. You have to cultivate it. You have to tend the soil, bring in the water. And I think that's so needed in with entrepreneurship, because you're going to have stuff where you're like, okay, I have no sales. Like, what the heck am I doing? You're going to start, having negative self-doubt, been there, done that. And then, or like you start comparing your business to someone else's business and you're like, oh, well, so-and-so is like, this, they have all of these sales, they're posting all of this, but then you have your people to kind of give you a reality check. It's like, hey, stay in your lane, like literally mind your business, stay in your lane and run your own race. So that was one of the things that, with your community around you, you need those people to keep you accountable and to keep you in check and keep you going. And then also be reality, because I'm a dreamer. Like I will dream all day. My husband's like, I don't know if that's appropriate yet, or, so he's like the reality guy. So we balance each other out. But he's like, all right, homegirl, bring it down. Cause I'll be up in the clouds. Like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do that. And he's like, okay. He's like, all right, I love the idea, I love the passion, but just bring it down. And that's good. You need that balance. So, but yeah, if you don't have a community around you, Jeremy, like you're not gonna, we've both kind of experienced stuff where we need true community around us. So it goes the same with, personal life, your career and entrepreneurship. You need to have those mentors, those people around you to be able to get you going and keep you literally in your lane and encourage you.
Well, I like the mind your own business. That's funny.
Literally mind your own business.
Okay. You started a flower shop, you found a gap, you did that, and you're doing it. You met with Alicia, and here you are taking control of your life, your time, which is more valuable than money, to be home with Zeke, right?
Yes. So right now, summer break. So I still have my full-time job. So I will say that I still have my full-time job. Our business started during 2021. We became an LLC in May, and that was like distance learning, right? California, everyone was still shut down. So I had more time and more freedom and flexibility to be able to say like, okay, I've tasted this flexibility and this freedom through like the blessing in disguise of being shut down in California. So I tasted that freedom and I'm like, I want more of this. So of course, I'm not very risky, but I was like, okay, I'm going to keep my job. I'm going to, supplement my income. And until I'm able to supplement my salary job, right? My 9-to-5 job, I'm going to step away. Then I'll see if I'm able to step away. So right now we're booking, we're trying to get into gear to sign contracts, confirm events for next year so that in 2 years we're able to step away and, leave the 9-to-5, but I still do both. I still do both. And it's so hard being a mom and a wife because you have to, like take care of your family first. But I'm at the point where I want it bad enough because I've tasted the flexibility, the freedom.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Like it's a creative outlet. So, that's my,
that's the great resignation, right? Everybody got a little taste of that freedom and they're like, screw this waitressing job, right? Like screw this other job. Like I'm going to take control of my own thing. And I remember like I would go to the restaurant, me and my partner, and it's like, no, there's like one server for the whole restaurant. Nobody was returning back to their jobs. It was crazy.
And it's like that rat race that we're conditioned to run. And you're like, hold up.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I've been tricked this whole time. I just wake up. I'm obsessed with coffee. I wake up just to get coffee to get me to work and then just cycle through the days. And you're like, yay for the weekend. And then you're like, oh, Monday again. It's like, no, who wants to live that life? Yeah.
Exactly.
So athletic trainers, they complain about pay all the time. All right, let's get back to just athletic training.
Yes.
Almost every setting I've worked at, athlete trainers complain about pay. And I remember when I was an undergrad and they were interviewing me to join the program, right? I had to get into the athlete training program. That's one thing that I remember distinctly they mentioned. You're not getting into this for pay, right? I'm like, I don't know. I barely even know what this is. And I barely even know what athlete training is. I had no idea. And they're like, well, people get into this because we love what we do and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I love it too. Sure. But even then, like looking back, those people were already very experienced people. They've been in the field for a long time. They're good at what they do. Right. Yeah. And they still doubted the value that they had, right? The value of knowledge that they had. And so there are things that we can do as athletic trainers to earn pay. There's areas of value that we have and skills that we have and knowledge that we have that people very much need and will pay for. But the problem is not that athletic trainers, the problem is that athletic trainers pay. If you just Google the average salary, right? Of course, it's going to be not great, right? But I think a lot of it is because we're not believing in ourselves, and we are not, and Alicia talks about this too. Towards your last year of school, when you're getting ready to graduate, that's when they start talking about, business and budgets and things like that. And it's like, dude, about that time, I'm just ready to graduate. Like, I'm so burnt out of 4 years. Now it's 6 years. 4 years of just learning about the body. I mean, everything from skin diseases to muscles to brain to blood system to I mean, there's just so much that I'm like, I can't I can't cram anymore in this brain in such a small time, And so then we graduate with that and we're like, oh, we love tape. We love tape so much. We love stretching so much. It's so great. And it's like, that's all we can remember out of those 4 years. And I can't blame any of us. Right. Yeah. But like you said, there is knowledge outside of school. And so, if we just start to embrace that more, and maybe you and I and others in this field can teach other athlete trainers, hey, you don't have to complain about money anymore. You have a value, right? There's everybody walking down the street has low back pain. Like, come on now, there's some sort of business you could put together to, charge cash or, I don't know, whatever. But what do you see as value in athlete trainers after going through the, classes with Alicia and starting your business? What do you see as value as athlete trainers? Some areas that we can make money in?
So here's my thing. Everything you said is like spot on, because I was also like a product of that until, I got here to this point. But the value that I see in even like as I'm working, because floristry, you're on your feet, you're doing, a lot of hand movements. You're using your body and your artistic abilities to create something. But so like even in just like floristry, ergonomics, I see so many florists and they're like, oh, I have tendonitis, I have this, I'm getting cortisone shot. And I'm like, if an athletic trainer were able to just go to a flower shop and, watch, like just like ergonomic wise, you're able to do consultations. We are knowledgeable in admin and organization. Okay, go and get up and create a handbook for a newly established school or whatever. We have so many, because we get characterized as a jack of all trades, right? We're the middleman. You don't go to the doctor, you don't go to the physical therapist, you go to the athletic trainer. So we know how to do everything. Well, quote unquote, everything. I say that loosely. Don't come after me, people. But we know how to do a lot of things, but we just get stuck in that little setting. But, if, how you said, everyone around, if you walk around, you see people slunched over on their phone. There's, people have chronic injuries, all of this stuff. It's like, okay, well, how could we fix that? How could we use the knowledge that you have, incorporate it in here? Everywhere you go, every single job that is out there, you need your body to perform it, whether it's your brain and, if it's like a mental job, okay, you have, I know that we took sports psych, we have those techniques and you're able to apply those and create that entrepreneurship dream that you have just based off of whatever skill you're good at. And I think that's where you could really apply athletic training. We know how to manage and run a clinic because that's essentially like a quote unquote business, right? That's like your storefront. You know how to manage that. You know how to order. You know how to, do budget. I hope you know how to do budgets. And you know how to, have those working contracts and that relationship with other clinics, with the physicians, with, your team dentists. You have that relationship. So now you're essentially running someone else's business.
Exactly.
So why can't you run your own with what gets you excited, right? I know that you were so excited. Like you are like the guru, and I claim you as like the original guru of like the 559 of like functional movement. I claim you. I don't care what anyone else says. You were the first one to introduce it. And like everyone else is a bandwagon. Like I'm just saying that.
Everybody looked at me like a weirdo.
Yes. They're like, that's another podcast.
And you know what's funny is like they're probably paying all this money to like get certifications or go to these classes for those things. And I was begging them to, hey, come on, let's do this, right? And they're like, no. So anyways, keep going.
Yeah, yes. But anyways, so like you have, like, for example, like you could easily, with your skill set and what you're good at, go and run it, like go and run your own business. And every single aspect that we learn in school, I know some people are like, oh, what do we need this for? But it's like, hey, this could actually be your own little, your own business. Like for example, like general medical conditions. Okay, start your own consultation, figure out what your legislation is, and then you have like your own consultation business. And instead, partner up with an insurance company. You're a contractor. If you look at it, insurance companies, they like, for example, Kaiser, it's a big old HMO. It's a big old organization. They only they contract so many things. They contract for like mental health. They contract for dentistry. They contract for everything. Go and be one of their contracts, so every single component, like in athletic training, like all the domains that we've learned, there's something in every single domain. You could essentially go and run your own business if you are smart enough and you're able to think outside the box, right? Think outside the box, because so many times we're like, oh no, it's medical, we can't do it because, there's so many laws and regulations. Don't let that stop you. Like, right? Don't let that stop you. Get creative, get legally protected, set up your business legally. And that's another thing that people don't want to do is like, oh, I don't want the government mixing my stuff. It's like, dude, you are like losing so much stuff. Like for us, I want being in like just getting sued and malpractice stuff in athletic training. I was like, heck no, I'm not going to do that. So I have that fear in me. So I made sure that I started up like a LLC. So if something happens, okay, take my flower cart, go ahead. Like, but you're not going to touch my assets,
right?
Or take away from my kids' future. So one of the things too is that like having my own business, we get taxed a lot. Like my husband gets taxed significantly. I get taxed a lot. So being my business, having my business, I was able to do so many tax write-offs. And this is the first year we're able to get money back. And I'm like, oh, I don't owe. Like, thank you, Lord. I was like,
wow.
Okay. So, things like that. And people don't see the advantages of it. I mean, yes, that's an advantage, but every single thing that you do, you could like anything that the athletic is in charge of doing, from like setting up pre-physicals to, closing down the clinic at the end of the school year. Every single thing that you do, you can create a business out of it if you think about it correctly. And at the end of the day, it's like, what problem are you solving? If you have a problem, what's your solution? Okay, so is that solution, are people going to pay for that? And surprisingly, people do, right? People like look at Uber, look at, DoorDash, look at Instacart. Like people are so busy nowadays that they're like, I need convenience. People will pay for convenience. So if your business is based off of convenience, like, well,
that's exactly that, right? Time, I would pay money to get more time because time is number one. And, and so I want you to talk about next. You said that first part you did with Leisha was basically figuring out if your business is viable or not. Is it going to be something to move forward with? Is it worth it? And, your goal isn't to make money. You want to increase the value of what you do. You want to serve a better audience. That's more of what you want to do. And increasing that value, I think if you can, obviously you want to create a community, but you want to you want to improve people's time. I can save you time.
Yes.
Our number one thing has always been, oh, I can get you better faster, right? Or, athletes are always coming to us. Number one question athletes have always asked me since I've been in this profession is like, okay, that's all great. Thanks for telling me the injury. Thanks for going through this process. But like, so how long until I can go back in the field? Right. Or how long can I go back on the court? So even athletes, 18-year-olds that we've seen in college, 18, 24-year-olds, even they understand, subconsciously time, right? I need to go back fast. I need to go back now. So, if you can increase that value. So talk to us about that process of what it was like to figure it out. And I'm assuming you figured out that this business for you is something worth to be moving forward with.
Yeah. So our business, we originally started with a flower bar because and this is not to dish on like my Mexican people, but I would go to the flower shops, I'm from LA, and I would see the only flowers I would see would be red roses with spiky little, greenery. And I'm like, is there something less like edgy? Like, I just want something, to calm me down because this looks like a funeral. So, starting the flower, again, I'm speaking from experience, but like the reason why I started this and the solution I was trying to fix is like, I want a tailored experience for creating your own flower bouquet, because I would go to the flower shop and I would tell them like, hey, can I make something? They're like, oh no, these are the only flowers we have. And I'm like, I see some back there. And I would always like try to wiggle my way back. Oh, can I see some of those? And sure enough, like, as I poked a little bit more, they would create my own arrangement. And then it got to the point where they knew what I wanted. And I was like, why am I paying them? I was like, I'm telling them what flowers to put in. I was like, and might as well just do it. So that's kind of how we got started. And that was a business that, people love flowers and they love to create their own flower bars and their own flower bouquets. So that was our solution. And then now we're more so as we're evolving. And here's the thing of like having that open-mindedness as we're evolving, we're seeing that we need to, we're growing. So there's more things that we have down the pipeline. We're like, oh, okay. So, just tying everything together. But that was kind of the main solution. Okay, so, what's the problem? How could I fix it?
And so she was that the question she pretty much asked you was,
So what she asked me, so when you take her courses, it's mainly, it's the self-assessment. So, it's all online and you ask like, okay, what's your solution? Like, who are your competitors? What are you trying, like pretty much laying it out. And there's like a framework that she has that kind of walks you through it. And then so that's like figuring out, okay, is my business going to be like sustainable? Is this even a business idea, or is this going to be profitable as a business? Because her thing is like, you don't want to just start up something and then close it down 2 years later. And that's her thing. She's like, you want it to be a profitable business, bring income into the home and be, have like financial freedom. So after I, did that analysis and that assessment, I was like, okay, I slept on it. I prayed about it. I'm like, okay. And she gives you like basic black and white, it's not, there's no gray area. So it's like, you're either it's going to be successful. It's solving a solution. Okay. Right. Now on to the next one. So you check those marks. And then, the incubator, I think it was the incubator, course that the startup incubator, I think that's what it's called. She goes through and you do the SWOT analysis. What are your strengths, weaknesses? You create like, who are your demographics, your target audience, all of that goes very, very into detail. And I think that's kind of what really, because I had all these ideas, right? I told you about the dreamer, like brain in me, but I had when I went through her course, I was able to identify, okay, this is who I'm targeting. This is my ideal client. This is who I kind of, I don't want to hit them because they're not my ideal client. And then again, that's going to lead to burnout. If you're running a race that's not for you, you're going to burn out. So it's just, black and white. So that her course really like dived in detail. And I was expecting, we're athletic trainers. We didn't go to business school, but she pretty much created a business school for anyone. Like you don't need an MBA. You just go to her course and, do that. But shameless plug for Alicia Pennington, because it's great stuff. Like they're millionaires. Let me rephrase this. They are running like very profitable businesses, very profitable. So they're teaching us what they know, and it works. And seeing that community around, we have this like cohort group, and like they'll say, hey, I just, increased revenue by thousands of dollars, or I had a $2,000 month and now I have a $15,000 month. And I'm like, oh, snap. Okay. So, again, going back to community and all of that. But so it's all intertwined at the end of the day. But that's kind of how I was able to realize and hone in on my craft. And now, before I would do like pop-ups, but going through that course, I'm like, okay, I'm losing money. This is like a 10-hour day. I was like, I'm taking time away from my family. I was like, what can I do that's going to give me, like, I work a couple hours a day and then have a heavy, like, event day, but still make more money. Mm-hmm. So through that course, I was able to really hone in and say, okay, I'm doing weddings and special events only, no pop-ups, because it's kind of like you're going to the farmer's market and hoping people buy something from you. And you're like, that's not, so.
Chance. Yeah.
Yeah. So the course was
back to time, right? Like if you feel like that's what you absolutely love, you don't have a family, and then it's worth your time. But it probably isn't worth your time, because you're not for sure gonna make the money you want to make in that time, and you're away from away from Zeke, you're away from your husband, away from home. So
no, definitely. So her course really did, it takes you through this whole map, and then you're like, this is the end goal, what I want. And then you kind of just like, okay, that's not it. All right, switch direction. That's not it. And it's, it's a very basic, practical application of figuring out how your business is how it's going to be ran, because she creates, what you're going to do and stuff like that through, obviously you create it, but the framework she has, it's so that you're able to integrate your stuff into it. And it's such a great, opportunity. So I'm blessed. It was definitely an investment. And I was like, okay, I'm investing in my business, tax write-off. Hey. So it was really good. It was really good. So and that's just how we figured out where we're supposed to be at. And this is just like leg one of Dakota Flowers, and, going off to different areas. So
awesome.
We're excited.
Well, Dakota Flowers, do you have social media?
Yes, we do. We are at Dakota_flowers. Follow us and, come hang out with us, see the crazy day, day that we go through. And
Okay. Last thing.
Yes.
People, athlete trainers that are on the fence about, starting their own business, or athlete trainers that are just unhappy and, burnt out because of their time, or burnt out because little pay in the traditional setting. What's the best piece of advice you can give them? I know you gave them a lot already, but what's the best piece of advice that they can just flip to this point of the video, hear it, and that's what they need to hear?
Go for it. Go for it. Honestly, go for it. Like run your race, go for it. And don't be so critical of what your surroundings are saying, find your community, go for it, and just like literally fly, go and do it. And don't hold back. So go for it, find your community. And honestly, that's when I will say inner healing. Once you heal the inside, that's when you start looking at the world from a different perspective. So those three. Right. Inner healing, go for it, and find your community.
There you go, everybody. So if you're on the fence, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I hope it motivates you to move forward. If it did, reach out to us, follow Dakota Flowers, correct? Dakota Flowers?
Flowers, yes. Dakota Flowers.
Dakota Flowers. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time, everybody.